Hello, welcome back to another Theory Thursday. Today we are talking about playing inside the changes. What does that mean? How do you do it? Where does someone say that? We'll talk about it. Today I've got my Seiko SNKL on today. My first ever mechanical automatic watch. Where it just, there's no battery. That just fascinates me. Just goes off movement. Incredible. I've got my black tie on. As always, if you've been enjoying the tune videos, theory videos, any other videos, like and subscribe is always appreciated. Of course, not necessary. Just keeps the channel going and the community growing. So, without further ado, playing inside the changes. Let's go. All right, I've got my looper pedal here with me today so I can play a little backing track and we can listen to this. So I think the easiest way to do this actually is just to do it first and then explain what's going on. So let me do a little something. Let's choose, I don't know, key of D. Okay, so what we got here is a 1 chord, a major 6 chord, right? Or you can play it as a diminished, rootless, major 6 chord, right? It's the 5 of 2. It's a B7. Going to a 2 chord, E minor, and finally the 5 chord, A. Back to 1. Okay, so those are the 4 chords. 1, 6, 2, 5. One of the most common progressions of all time, especially in jazz. So, I said I was going to do this. Let me just do it. So what's going on there? What notes am I playing? How do I pick them? All that stuff. So what you just heard was someone playing inside the changes. So what does that even mean? First, go to the word changes. The changes is what another word for the chords. So the changes are D, B, E minor, A7. Those are the changes. So to play inside of them means that during your improv, you're picking notes that are specific to those chords that are being played in the background. Okay? So, when a D major 7 chord plays, I'm playing notes that are in that chord. Right? There's the major 7. So it's basically arpeggios. You can think of it like that. And arpeggios really help you when learning how to improv. But it's a lot more bouncing around and connecting chord shapes. So that's playing inside the changes. And you're going, John, is there any other way to play? You make it sound like this is the only way. Of course there's other ways. There's playing outside of the changes, which there will be another video on. But basically, you're playing notes that build tension and are not, intentionally not, in whatever chord is being played. So, for example, if I know I'm going to a D chord and I don't care what chord is before that. It could be anything. In this case, it's an A. But it doesn't matter to me because I'm going to play outside of the changes, and I'm going to throw down a D sharp arpeggio. That leads in to that D major 7. So it's building tension. Well, here, I'll just play for you. So you could hear that I was playing notes that weren't in this chord, but it created tension, and then when we finally get to that D chord, it's the release. So that's playing outside of the changes. Today we're talking about inside the changes, picking notes that are particular to whatever chord is being played. Now, why is that important? Because it outlines the song. It outlines the tune. It's great for the listener because they can follow along. And it's great for your bandmates because they know where you're at in the song. So, for example, if I play this, they know I'm on the B7 chord. You can hear the chords in that. Okay, you can hear the chords within the solo, so it gives some direction to the improv and gives the listener something to latch onto. Now, there is a third way to play this, which is how people start usually, and I do suggest you start here because it helps with rhythm and just time feel. And that, so we've talked about playing inside, we've talked about playing outside, and you can play over top of the changes. So both the scenarios so far we've talked about is both are dependent on whatever is going on in the background. The D major 7's playing, you're going to play notes that fit within that chord. Playing outside of the changes, you know where you're going, and you're going to focus everything on creating tension so you can get that payoff when you hit that D chord or wherever you're going. So you're focused on where you're headed within the structure of the chords. Now, playing over top of the changes is ignoring all that and just saying, okay, we're in the key of D here. So I could throw a D major scale or a B minor pentatonic, D major pentatonic. Just usually I only say that because that's usually how guitars start. This one, the blues, right? The pentatonic. I could just play a scale over top the whole thing, and I don't care what chords are going on below because I've got my one scale, and I'm just going to play everything within that. Okay, so what does that sound like? You don't have to go up and down. Okay, so that's taking one scale and just using that over all of the chords. And it works. However, it's easy to get lost in the tune because you're not paying attention to what's going on. You're only paying attention to, okay, this is my scale. These are the notes I am allowed to hit. and this is what I'm going to do. Not paying attention to anything else. Okay, so it is easy to get lost when you're playing that. However, when you don't know your arpeggios and how to link ideas or even just arpeggios. For example, if you're going to play a D major 7 arpeggio going into a B dominant, I can't. Right? How do you link all those ideas together? If you don't know how to do that yet, just getting the rhythm down does work. And if it usually helps if it's with a scale that you know. Just getting rhythm down. That's where that comes in handy. Anyway, playing inside, I think that's enough information for today. Playing inside the changes is picking specific notes that fit within a specific chord that's going on in the background. So if a D's playing, then you get to that B7, E minor, A7. That's playing inside the changes. That's enough information for today. Hopefully you learned something, or at least found it interesting. And we'll see you for the next one. Bye.